I'm going to review Gin and Daggers, which is a Murder, She Wrote book. And this is going to be spoiler free. And then at the end of the video, I have a review from Lauren. So Lauren, I'm going to read out your review at the end of my review. So this is the first ever Murder, She Wrote book. Murder, She Wrote, you might know from the TV series. It then had a book series, which was nothing to do with the TV series, but it had all the characters and Cabot Cove and all the settings from the TV series. So this is the first one that was ever brought out. It was written by Donald Bain. And Donald Bain is actually a very famous ghostwriter, and we will never know how many books he ever published because he ghost wrote so many, but he actually wrote this in his own name. And then over the years he has passed away, so different authors have taken this on the series, but this is the first ever one. So when it starts, Jessica Fletcher is very much like how you know her from the TV series. She has had brush-ins with the law and solved crimes previously to this book. She is a very famous crime fiction writer, and she has been sent to a conference in London, which is for all the best crime fiction writers around the world are travelling to the Savoy Hotel in London, where they will all talk and have different workshops, and she is going to be the keynote speaker of that event. So she comes over to England, and before she goes to the Savoy, she meets up with her friend Marjorie Ainsworth, and she is the world's most successful crime fiction writer of all time, and she's very close friends with Jessica. So she goes to her massive mansion, and there's loads of people there. There's Marjorie's niece Jane, there's then this young man called Jason Harris, who Marjorie is kind of training up as like an apprentice to make him a great writer. You then have her American publishers, her English publishers. There's a playwright who turned one of her books into a successful West End production. There's so many different people there, and Jessica is going to stay there the night and then go on to the Savoy, and she'll be giving the keynote speakers. So before the conference, she's meeting up with Marjorie to kind of gossip about the other authors and who's going to be there. Marjorie ends up murdered at the house. Everyone is a suspect, including our Jessica Fletcher. Jessica then goes to the Savoy. She's not allowed to leave England because she is a suspect in this murder. And the Savoy Hotel is a real hotel in London. It's very expensive, very luxury hotel, and the conference is being held there. And throughout the story, you have different narratives going on. So it's all told from Jessica Fletcher's perspective, but you have different sub-storylines that she's kind of going into. So you have obviously who killed Marjorie is the massive one. You then have who wrote Marjorie's latest book, because Marjorie's latest book was called Gin and Daggers, and it was her last book she ever wrote, so it's gone on to be a huge success. It's going to be a great bestseller, but there is a little bit to do with who actually wrote it. Was it Marjorie? Was it someone else? She was very ill before she died, so there's something going on with the copyright of that. So Jessica's trying to find out that to unlock the key to maybe that's connected to who killed Marjorie. She also is at the conference, and she has to go to different speeches and workshops and dinners at the conference. There's a man called George Sutherland, who he is a Scotland Yard detective, and he has taken over the case, and him and Jessica have this real connection, and she can't believe it, like how much they get along, and she really fancies him and he really likes her as well. So you've got this like spark of romance over here as well. She then has help from Cabot Cove as well within the book, which I loved that element within it. Then we have also just sadness throughout it, because the last time she came to London was with her husband Frank, and he has passed away, and so there's this sadness. There's a bit when she's looking into a restaurant and she's looking at the table that her and Frank always used to sit in when they came to this London restaurant, because they came to London a lot. They loved it, and she realises she can never go back into that restaurant. She will never sit at that table again because it would be too sad to sit that by herself, and because Frank isn't here, she can never relive that. And there's the joy of all the memories she shared with him, but also the sadness of grief, that it's all tainted by grief, that it will never be able to be relived. They'll never be able to revisit those places they stayed at. There will always be kind of like ghosts of her past within the book. So I loved that. It was so interesting, everything, this grief weaving through the book throughout. You then have Jessica is of course taking on the investigation herself. She wants to clear her own name because she is the main suspect within it. So she wants to find out who would benefit from Marjorie's death. Where could there be a motive somewhere within this? She then ends up in Soho. So she's in Savoy in London, very wealthy area. Soho in London, it's strip clubs, sex clubs, those kind of, massage establishments, let's say, which aren't really that. It's all that, very seedy. So she ends up there because she needs to find someone to talk to them. And they are, I don't know if they're like an escort agency or a stripper agency. There were all girls in the waiting room. And I was not expecting this in my cozy murder, she wrote. I was thinking it would be, the luxury side of London and everything. It was like the underbelly of London as well. There's like muggings in it. There's like people getting beaten up, and it was crazy. So she goes to Soho, and there's this man who he hires girls. So someone phones up and says, like, I need 2 girls tonight. So I think it might be an escort agency, I don't know, or if he sends them over to strip clubs. I couldn't quite work that out. And then he's saying to Jessica, he's like, I'm not interested in you, you're too old, I'm sorry, no, you can't work for me. And she's like, I don't want to be a stripper. It's just like, what? I can't believe they got good old Jessica and like put her in Soho, London. I was like, here you go. Here you are with this man who maybe is an escort agency person, I don't know. And then in his office he had a stage. It was all just so weird. And then she like says on the way out, he's like, unless you've got a gimmick, I don't want you to like work for me. And she's like, what? I don't want to be a stripper, what are you talking about? And then as she goes out, there's like 2 strippers laughing at her, and she's like, I've got a gimmick, by the way. I was like, sorry, what? What's being implied here? Anyway, loved all that. I loved also Donald Bain has been to London, and it says in the back, like, he really likes London, but you really got that he wanted to give an honest portrayal of London, I felt, because he could have made it very, like, sometimes when Americans write London, it's all like, we're going to the Ritz for afternoon tea, we're going to Savoy, we're going to look at Big Ben, because obviously you go and do the tourist things. But I feel like Donald wanted to give a really realistic portrayal of London. Like, we have the Savoy Hotel. It's very, like, expensive, luxury. But then also there is Soho, where there's, like, bars and clubs and a lot of nightlife there. But then also this kind of underbelly, which isn't very nice there. And then be careful, because it's a major city, you might get attacked and mugged. Like, it was just the whole thing. And then when she went to someone's apartment, she went to this area and it was right near a like tube station, and she was saying how like during the day this feels like a very welcoming area. It's quite near Oxford Street. Oxford Street is where all the main shops are, but at night it takes on a completely different, like, it's a different beast at night. There's something a bit sinister, almost like Jack the Ripper. When you think of Jack the Ripper, you think of like streets at night, danger kind of sense within it. I feel like London was portrayed really honestly and well in this. And I kind of wanted it for more of a comfort, like, there, I'm going to Harrods for tea. But it wasn't that at all. It was a really honest portrayal of it all, which I did actually really like within this book. Loved the moments of grief within it. I thought they were dealt with so well. Did not see what was coming, but kind of saw what was coming. So when it was revealed at the end, I kind of was like, oh yeah, okay, I can see that, because of something that had happened a little bit earlier that I thought, oh yeah, that's not quite right. But I didn't know the whole extent to it, so I was still shocked at the end, because it is a thriller murder mystery. I thought it was a really fun ride. It was a wild ride, like Murder, She Wrote TV series. It's like a wild ride, but I thought it was pretty good. I've also read another Murder, She Wrote. I read this last year, Murder, She Wrote, Fatal Feast. Loved it, adored it. We're in Cabot Cove, it's Thanksgiving, and George Sutherland, who is from Gin and Daggers, he's the detective in this, him and Jessica have stayed in touch. And he's coming to America for Thanksgiving so that she can show him a traditional Thanksgiving, because he's Scottish, he doesn't celebrate it obviously, and then a murder happens in Cabot Cove. And Fatal Feast is a really lovely cozy book, I think because it's set in Cabot Cove. It has this really comfort feel about it, and I absolutely adored it. Gin and Daggers is completely different. Gin and Daggers is, like I said, like the kind of the undercurrent seediness of London. It didn't have the cozy Murder, She Wrote vibes, but I still loved it. I still thought this was a great fun read, even though it did have a lot more like darkness to it. I have actually tabbed 2 moments in it, so I'll read those 2 moments to you. This one was descriptions of autumn. Crisp, cool air sent my white curtains fluttering and heralded the coming of fall to Maine in all its peacock splendour. I love fall. October is my favourite month. And I didn't know when I picked this up that had like autumn and October in it. So I just loved that, because at the beginning she's in Cabot Cove and then she travels obviously over to London. And London is exactly how, well, look outside. If you can see outside now, raining, grey, wet. Like that's how London is depicted within the story. And then this bit I thought was interesting because it's about the original meaning of red herring, which I didn't know what red herring actually meant. You know, when they throw like a spanner in the works within a book. So the origin of the term red herring, it goes back to the 17th century. Animal activists who were dismayed by the senseless killing of foxes for sport would smoke herons, which turned them red, and then drag them through the fields. The smell of the fish was so strong that it disguised the fox's scent, making it impossible for them to beat a hasty retreat while packs of confused hounds sniffed around in circles. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's where red herring came from, so I thought it was interesting. So those are the two moments I tabbed within this book. I probably wouldn't reread this book, but I did enjoy it and thought it was like a really fun ride. And I probably would reread A Fatal Feast because there's just something so comforting and cozy about it. Now I'm going to read Lauren's review, which I haven't actually read yet. She sent it to me and then I screenshotted it. So I'm going to actually read it now and give you my thoughts on her review. I'm now going to read out Lauren's review. Thank you for choosing the first Murder, She Wrote book of the book club. How fitting to read about the September weather and Jessica Fletcher's love of autumn. I was excited to read this. I adore Murder, She Wrote and have a Christmas volume of this series, but I've never come across Gin and Daggers out in the wild. My first impressions were, and this will sound a little silly, I got the distinct feeling of reading these books to movie adaptations I read as a kid, like High School Musical novels or something. What I mean is, because we know and love the Cabot Cove characters, including Jessica, I felt like there was a pause for applause when they appeared. Like, if this weren't an adaptation of a TV show, we wouldn't have gotten more literary descriptions of their appearance, their voice, their motivations, etc. Now, I did see that the book was originally published in 1989, with a reissue in 2000, to correct some errors, such as Jessica's driving. I noted in chapter 1 that Jessica offered to drive, and near the end there was an explanation into why she doesn't drive. Oh my god, my edition is completely different. My edition must be the original edition because I got it secondhand on eBay, and the Murder, She Wrote books in England aren't very available. If you go on Amazon, they're like £25 for a hardback book of these Murder, She Wrote books, or if you go on eBay you can get a lot of them, but mine must have been an old one on eBay because she rents a car and she does drive in my edition. The Kindle edition was riddled with errors to an aggravating degree. Not something I've ever come across before, but this is not a reflection of the book itself. Something else I noted was Jessica mentioned how she couldn't raise one eyebrow. I feel like Jessica peering around a doorway, raising one eyebrow, is a quintessential image of her. So I found that odd. Yeah, that's really bizarre because she's always like, so, you know, what was her name? Angela Lansbury, who played Jessica Fletcher in the Murder, She Wrote TV series, was so expressive. And as an actress, if you've seen Bedknobs and Broomstick, Angela Lansbury's in that as well. She's so expressive and kind of over the top in that the eyebrow thing is very odd because she's always raising one eyebrow to see what's going on. I have to say, the more I read, the more I was aware of the voice of Donald Bain rather than the voice of Jessica Fletcher. I hesitate to say this, but I think a book would have benefited from a woman writer in many ways. Some of them have been written by a woman. So after he stopped writing them, there is a woman who did take out over the writing for it. My one is, both of them are Donald Bain, but some are written by a woman. They're written by different people because there has been so many of them. On another note, there was a vague undercurrent of racism and a few instances of homophobia that didn't sit right with me. I'm not the kind of person that can't tolerate reading about characters with these views, but I would have expected Jessica to bristle. Yes, the book was published in 1989, but Agatha Christie herself always defied stereotypes, even while employing them. And Agatha Christie also, I feel like she had a lot of gay characters, even though at the time that wouldn't have been acceptable. A lot of her books it's implied that these two women lived together. There's a lesbian couple within one. One of them is drowned, and then Prior says, like, you loved her very much, and he's implying, you know, you were in a relationship together, but not openly in a relationship. I feel like there's a lot of that in Agatha Christie, even though it wouldn't have been okay at the time. As to the actual plot, I had a laugh with the sword-wielding maniac and Biggers tripping him up, but as to the ending, I was left feeling unsatisfied. Most importantly, who was the poor sod that was pulled from the water? Just a small explanation of where they were coming from, or why Maloney chose them would have gone a long way. What information could Beer have given Jessica to turn the whole thing around? I felt like Biggers observing the party at Ainsworth's house more so. So Jimmy Biggers is a private detective who has a really bad reputation, who he says to Jessica, you know, the police think you did it, love, like you're the suspect in it, so why don't you hire me, and this will help us both out because this has become international news that this best-selling author has been killed by maybe another best-selling author, you, so let me help you clear your name. And she sends him on little tasks to find out bits of information, and I did feel there was loose ends around that whole situation of the water and who came out of the water. And also, I don't think the police would have let her just go in and look at the body. You know, in the police station, she's just allowed to go and identify a body of a man that she's only met once before. That seemed a little bit odd to me as well. But I feel with Murder, She Wrote, as in the TV series as well, you have to kind of suspend reality a little bit. I don't know, I do, because it just seems so unrealistic, some of it. But yeah, we never found out who was in the water. I assumed it was maybe just someone, a random person that they had just thrown in and they didn't even know who it was, but we never actually got a full explanation of to who that was. Why did Maria lie the way she did? Okay, maybe she was paid, but the piste de resistance was Jane. We're told she only did it because Harris told her. Jessica feels her actions were premeditated, like the men's. Weren't premeditated, sorry. That stinks of misogyny for me. I'm sure her motivations were greater than they were reduced to. Overall, I can't help but love Murder, She Wrote. I feel a bit guilty almost for not loving it hook, line and sinker. I don't feel like it will be my last reading of the series. Thanks, Hannah. Great points. Thank you for reading it along with me, Lauren. And I agree with you. Like, I love the TV series and I loved A Fatal Feast. But Gin and Daggers, I'm not going to give this a reread. This isn't a book that I'm going to go back to time and time again and relive the story. And I know what you mean. I didn't love it. Like, you described it the best. I didn't love it hook, line and sinker. Charming is how I would describe this book in many ways. But it wasn't like a perfect read. And some books are a perfect read. I'm not one of these people that can like never give anything a perfect rating, even though I am very critical of books. And I do realise that a lot of the reviews on my channel tend to be quite negative. I'm not someone who like is dissatisfied with all books, because I would say Fatal Feast really is a great book. Like, this really is one I will reread. This is one over the years that when it's around Thanksgiving time, we don't obviously celebrate Thanksgiving in England, so I'll get that little slice of America and I'll read about Thanksgiving, and it's cozy and it's Cabot Cove. So I'm going to end this video here. Thank you again so much, Lauren, for reading along with me, and I'm going to end it here. I hope you're having a great day. I hope it's not torrential rain like it is right now here in England. I hope it's lovely and sunny where you are, and you've got a nice cup of tea and you've got a blanket and you're reading. You're having an amazing day. I hope you're having a great time, and I will see you again soon for another video. I'm not doing Vlogmas, but I am just trying to do like as many videos as I can. I've already started a new book and I'm powering through it, so I'll probably be a book review of that up soon. So I'm going to end it here, and I will see you soon for another video.